They're selling you all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. in the UK. Obviously, podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Here to discuss all things boxing, MA, and everything in between. It's going to be, I'm not going to say a slow day, or, it is kind of a slow day. Like, it's a little day. Like, there's not much in the news cycle for today. But it's a daily show. We're here every day. Call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you're international, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com, and I'll get you the international call-in link. And again, you can call in and discuss anything, even if we don't discuss it on this show in terms of topics. If you want to call in and debate something or talk about something, get off your chest, this is the platform for you. So you know what it is. Shout out to Louis and Ivan Diaz in the chat. Robbie Hearn in the international phone line queue. Rob, just text me whenever you want to get on the show. And but let's get into it because, like I've said, it is sort of a quick news cycle day. There's not much to discuss. But Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, in my opinion, them going back and forth on social media or just media overall, right? And obviously, Sky Sports is an extension or obviously a partnership with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, so that plays a part in it. And let's just dive into it because I thought this was pretty funny. As usual, beef in this game is always hilarious to me, to be completely honest. But let's move over to Eddie Hearn saying Fury looked poor in his last fight, won't fight Wilder in 2018. Oh, gosh, this is just... Again, just taking shots as he is. Eddie Hearn, a guy that is usually one to take shots in the media to either his rival promoters, fighters, etc. Fat Apple does a funny comment in the chat. Beef and mustard. That was good. And then Sky Sports, I think like maybe the following day, might have been 2 days after, put out this article saying unlicensed in all caps exclamation point at Tyson Fury does not yet have a license to box in New York or Vegas despite a plan to fight at Bronze Bomber. And I thought this was not like shocking. Like sometimes fighters get the licenses relatively close to fight date. And again, I didn't think too much of it. And then obviously there was some sort of reaction, obviously on social media with the UK fan base or whatever it is, because I didn't see it. I did not see that outrage, but there obviously was some because Frank Warren came out here, and basically took it to social media himself saying, hi, at Sky Sport Boxing. and obviously took a screenshot of the post from Sky Sport, and then responded with this little, I think it's one of his like little notes when you go into your notes app on your phone and type that up and screenshot it, saying, with the monkeys covering his eyes emoji, Sky, News Corp propaganda at it again, ... What am I doing here? I need some dramatic music. Yes, Nigel, mute yourself over there. I see you in the call-in link. Don't worry, we'll get to you. Frank Warren saying, 1, the fight hasn't been confirmed to take place in Nevada or New York. Why would he have applied for a license there yet? 2, Billy Joe Saunders hasn't applied to fight in Boston yet, but you're promoting that on your schedule. Oh, I love that. As of today, Povetkin is not cleared by the local commission to box yet in the UK for the AJ pay-per-view in 3 weeks' time. 4, all 3 boxers will get licenses, but this type of journalism is embarrassing, lazy, and unprofessional, and so poor it verges on being funny. Fury versus Wilder, it should be Wilder versus Fury. In the words of the real heavyweight champ, it's on like Donkey Kong. I have to say, Frank Warren definitely won this battle. Like, this is without a doubt, like a slam dunk. Like, again, shots all over the place by Frank Warren. Salute to him. Nige up in the tower. You know how it is. Nige, hit me up on the chat in the Google Hangout when you want to get your call on. Anyways, digressing. I think it's just funny to me. Like, what? I don't care what either of these guys had to say. They could all be lying. They could all be telling the truth. It doesn't matter to me. It's funny. And at this point, to me, I take it only as entertainment. I don't look here to be looking for conspiracy theories or storylines to these fights and how they may or may not be happening. Like, as I've said, like, fighters don't get their licenses sometimes until maybe 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. It happens sometimes. Povetkin, AJ, Billy Joe Saunders, Demetrius Andrade. Like, this does happen. Let alone Wilder Fury, which all intents and purposes seems to be signed and official. And we're just waiting on that confirmation, that press release with the date, venue, etc. But in my opinion, it's here. Like, I know Eddie Hearn is on his warpath to shit on it, and he should. Like, he is talking to rival promoters here. But he also has recognized that, hey, I kind of want them to fight because the winner of that fight is going to be bigger. It's going to make my guy more money. So I don't mind it at all. I think it's all hilarious to me. Like I've said, if you want to take conspiracy theories from it or anything like that, you go for it. That's awesome. The fans of this sport are often, like Johnny says, they're kind of weird-ass fans around here. It is what it is. Regardless, I think even though obviously AJ Wilder is the fight we want to see, it's the fight that everyone wants to see, AJ Povetkin and Wilder Fury are still good fights. And I know that might be blasphemous to say, but we're still getting good fights. It's not like these guys are taking shitty tune-ups a la Rod Salka. We're not getting that sort of scenario here, or Samuel Vargas. We're not getting sort of those sort of tune-ups and showcases. We're getting still top 5 fighters, top 10 fighters fighting each other. So I'm okay with it at the end of the day. Again, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue, or email me, mixcombatradio@gmail.com to get that international call-in link. Nigel and Rob in the queue already on that link. I see Santiago in the queue has not pressed 1 on the call-in link. Santiago, press 1 when you want to go live. And Nigel and Rob, just text me when you guys want to come on. But let's move over to the rest of the boxing news of the day. Because like I said, it's like this whole Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Sky Sports, beef, whatever it is, take it for entertainment. Take it as just fun. Like, it's banter, to use the UK term. It's bants. Like, just go along with it. Something I'm not going to go along with, though. Jorge Linares saying he's more than capable of taking over at 140. God. This is so bad. This is so bad. Linares, no, you cannot take up over 140. Even though you did fairly well against Lomachenko, and I think we all can sit here and say that Lomachenko is potentially an all-time great. But Linares, I think, has a power ceiling. I think he has a size ceiling. I think he has a durability ceiling. That's probably capped at 135 pounds. At 140, I see guys like Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis, hell, even Victor Postal. I see all those guys beating Jorge Linares. And I'm a big fan of Linares, but I just don't think 140 is his division. When I saw that he was fighting his comeback fight at 140, I assumed he just don't want to cut weight. You don't want to cut that extra 5 pounds. And I get it. Like, he's a little bit older in the tooth. But if he actually wants to make a run at anything, 135 is still the run to be at, in my opinion. Or the run to be had. I don't think he can make a run at 140. I think those guys just hit a little bit too hard, a little bit too big for him. At 135, I think his speed, athleticism, and just overall technique, I think can at least make him be competitive at 135. Again, I think Lomachenko beats him. I think even guys like Gervonta Davis at this point, if he moves up to 135, he beats Linares just from a style standpoint. But let's be honest, you don't think Jorge Linares beats Pedraza or Ray Beltran and guys like that? He could, absolutely. I don't see that as at all an unlikely possibility. But moving on to the next piece of news, the World Boxing Super Series Season 2 is seemingly starting to get itself going. Inoue versus Piano, which I've already talked about being October 7th in Japan, has a official co-main event, Kaylee Raylick versus Edward Chinovsky, which should be a just absolute drumming of Chinovsky. That poor guy will not make it out of 3 rounds. Raylick will beat that guy from post to post, but should be exciting. Michael Benson, I don't have the tweet up, but he had a tweet up talking about like the potential dates of all these events. You can go look at it. All those are mainly rumors. This is the only one that is official at this point. So that's all I'm going to report on. Going on to the next piece of news. Gabe Rosado saying that he will step in to fight Jose Uzcategui, whose announced opponent was the name. Let me try to find it in this article. I forget the name. It was a name I've not heard of. Is Ezrico Mardona. He was the scheduled opponent at first for Uzcategui's ESPN Plus headline card, which was supposed to be a non-title fight, allegedly. Gabe Rosado has thus come forward and said he's in negotiations with Carl Moretti and Top Rank, obviously, about this fight. He was already approached for it, allegedly, to fight in Tijuana, Mexico, originally. And now that the fight's in Oakland, he is much more accepting of it. I am not too hyped on this, to be honest. I think Uzcategui is going to beat up Gabe Rosado real bad. Main event mark, kind of echoing what I'm saying Rosado ... with the laughing face emoji. That's exactly how I feel here. Like, this is Rosado was a 154-pounder alone. Never had power, decent skill, but gets brutalized basically by any aggressive puncher. And Uzcategui is a unorthodox, come forward swarmer that I think will just beat up Rosado from post to post. And the fight will probably end in TKO. Rosado is a tough guy. He's hard to really knock out clean. But he's very easy to cut up, bruise up. That I think will be a huge factor in this fight is the bruising, the swelling, and the overall cuts that Uzcategui will be able to put on Gabe Rosado. Just does not seem like a good matchup if you are Gabe, just in my personal opinion. Last topic of boxing of the day before we head over to Rob and potentially Nyjah, because I assume Nyjah doesn't want to talk about MMA. Ryuya Yamanaka has announced his retirement, and this is really sad. I'm not even going to play sound bites for it or anything like that. This is actually really serious due to a brain bleed diagnosis. Yamanaka is 23 years old. He had just lost his I believe WBO title to Vic Saluda last month. If you have not seen that fight, go watch it. I'm about to post it on YouTube. It's that good of a fight on my YouTube channel. So probably in the next, few hours after the show, expect to see this fight actually get posted on my channel if you want to watch it. It was a fantastic fight that probably is a sleeper for Fight of the Year, to be honest. And it's just sad to see a talent that's young, as exciting as Yamanaka, unfortunately retired due to this serious of a condition. I've talked about this a lot. You know, like these cases are all too common. If you're a fighter out there, please look into anything such as associations. Start one. That helps with healthcare costs. It may not be a union yet, but it's an association does help with healthcare costs and stuff like that. Because a guy like a 23-year-old boxer probably does not have the income to handle this sort of case, deal with it. I'm just overall deeply, deeply concerned here for a guy like Yamanaka. I'm glad he's at least retiring. He's being preemptive about this. It's deeply sad, to be honest. He is a guy that had tremendous talent, lost a tough, amazing fight against another great fighter in Vic Saluda. It's just deeply depressing, to be quite honest. When I saw this news, I was kind of taken aback by it. Eric Rose is saying someone should post a link for that fight in the chat. Don't worry, I will actually upload that fight to this YouTube channel because it's a great fight. Yamanaka displayed amazing heart and willpower in the fight, and plus, again, sleeper fight of the year. If he's retiring, this fight should be remembered. Deeply, deeply sad. I know it's kind of a sad topic to go to Rob, so I'm going to kind of touch on a topic that wasn't in my topic list, but Potential Lunatic brings it up. I know Rob talked about it to me off air. Brandon Rios coming out. I forget if it was Ellie Setback. I forget who he was interviewed by, saying that he's been in negotiations for the AJ Povetkin card in 3 weeks against guys like Josh Kelly. That's the rumor. I really hope that does not happen. First off, I think it's kind of criminal almost to give a fighter like Brandon Rios, a guy that's, a 2-division champion, a guy that's this long in the tooth, has just got knocked out in his last fight, 3 weeks notice for a fight against a guy like Josh Kelly. If this was an 8-week notice fight, I might be a little bit different about it, but it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But Rob, are you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
How you doing, Rob?
Yeah, I'm good.
Can you?
But on the Brandon Rios stuff, I guess down the line it would be something if Josh Kelly is the opponent that it would look good on his record going forward. Oh shit, he beat Brandon Rios at 8-0 or something. So in that regard, but I kind of agree. I mean, Rios, I think he's had issues with weight in the past. I don't think a 3-week camp is really what he needs to be doing at this stage of his career. Just like I don't think, like you said, Rosado needs any of the. I just call him Wi-Fi password. I can never say his name. I don't think he needs that smoke either. Gabe Rosado with Uzcategui, or if that's how you say it. But
you got it. You got it right. You're good.
I nailed it. Yeah. So I don't think he needs that smoke. But
I agree.
Obviously, I'm sure the usuals in the chat are waiting for me to talk about Eddie Hearn, but I actually spoke to Eddie regarding the Frank Warren thing, and he kind of led to the fact that Frank's sort of pretty much got this one right. So I don't think Eddie's going to have anything in the media to come back at Frank Warren about regarding what Frank said. I've sort of heard before, fighters don't get their licenses until close to the fight. I mean, I don't know how, if that's just been generally a rule down the line, or, is it kind of risky? Is there some reason that a fighter might not get his license before, a couple of weeks out, and then suddenly a fight could be in jeopardy? But I believe it's kind of the done thing within the sport. So yeah, Frank's kind of bodied the Sky Sports article there, but I think Eddie's kind of just taken, the little quotes from Frank and kind of in his eyes and a lot of people's eyes, blowing the whole Wilder Joshua 50 million thing to pieces by saying it was going to be money from BT and it was going to be on BT. So Eddie's lapped that right up and kind of using that as there you go. It was a non-runner from the start if they thought this was going to be on BT, because Joshua was exclusive to Sky. So
I don't believe Frank Warren though. Like, come on.
Yeah, I know, but if you're going to try and throw some shade, don't fuck it up by making with crappy facts or crappy lies, because
I
Eddie's
agree.
just gone, all right, so BT money, right? Okay, good one. So yeah,
it was funny because Frank Warren definitely had Eddie on the ropes until he slipped up in the lie. It's so sad because it was hilarious to me because I thought it was so surprising that of this situation, AJ Wilder, that Frank Warren coming out from under the ropes and hitting Eddie with the chair, the steel chair out of nowhere. That's what it felt like. It felt like that. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, this the Sky article. I don't quite get it because if this is all kind of the done thing, then I don't know. Like Warren said, is it like some kind of propaganda or whatever? It's kind of
it is
a non-article. So he had his right to come back on it, just like Eddie would have commented on. I've seen him have little comments with Dan Rayfield when he's felt Rayfield's said some bullshit before. Eddie said to numerous things when he's found an issue with someone's either article or video or anything. So just like Eddie likes to throw out his tweets, Frank Warren's come back with this one. So fair play. I mean, it's kind of been enjoyable because I think recently Eddie's obviously smashed it over here in comparison to Frank, but now Frank's got Fury, and he done 840,000 views or whatever on or peaked at or averaged at, with the Sefer fight. That's sort of huge numbers, really, on BT Sports for such an opponent, for a non-dance partner in the opposite corner there. So, Frank's sort of making a little resurgence, and I don't know whether it's kind of giving him that lift and he's coming out because, the whole in Belfast and leading up to Belfast for Fury and Pianetta, it's just Joshua and Eddie is just in Warren's mouth constantly, and I guess the media were asking stuff and that, but it was just constantly about, I saw the 50 million, I saw that, and it's just like, look, let's all just, I guess, try and move on now. It's clearly not happening right now. AJ's got Povetkin, Fury's looking like he's got Wilder, and down the line it's going to be a big fight for the winner of that versus, AJ, assuming he comes through the Povetkin fight. But what else? Linares, thinking he's got the goods at 140, So, obviously he's waited until the World Boxing Super Series has been dealt with.
What was that, Rob?
He's just waiting for the World Boxing Super Series to all be finalised and the dates, and now he's coming in at 140. Because I think the likes of a Josh Taylor, maybe I think that'll be a tough fight for Josh Taylor this early in his career, but he come through the Postal fight and took some pretty clean shots. I just don't think Linares hit hard enough, particularly at 135. So is he going to, carry that lack of power up to 140? So I don't know. But, obviously Regis Prograis, obviously in that tournament as well. And
yeah, but there's names outside the tournament, like Maurice Hooker over at DAZN and Eddie Hearn. That's a player with the belt. Victor Postal, I think, is, even though he lost to Josh Taylor, I think he looked so good in that fight that people are high on him again.
Yeah, for sure. I was like, the Crawford thing, and just how good is Postal anymore. And I was obviously high on Josh Taylor, but
agreed.
To me, he Taylor obviously shone in that and showed at a young age and early in his career that he's coming up to that kind of world, almost not elite level, but world level or world contender level. But Postal showed that he isn't done yet, I don't think. So
agreed.
Because Taylor can hit hard and he took some shots, but once Postal, I think Taylor found it difficult, but he eventually figured him out. He eventually changed things up, and then started getting the rounds, winning the rounds, and then obviously he got the knockdown, which really helped because it was a tight fight. But yeah, Linares, obviously, like you say, Hooker, and obviously Linares has done work with Eddie before, obviously twice with Crawler and Campbell now as well. So maybe some of that DAZN money can entice Linares over. I don't know, but they've obviously Golden Boy and Eddie have worked together numerous times, so that's obviously potential. If Hooker can get past Rosado, obviously on ESPN, as we know, he lost the purse bid there, but yeah, I don't know. Linares, I going into the Loma fight, I was kind of thinking, he's not knocked the guy out in such a long time. I think he's past his best, and stepping up, is that the right idea? I don't know. I personally thought he might take a little step back from boxing, if not retire after the Loma fight, because I just don't know. Just what's out there. Can he raise his game again? Because I just think I don't know. He's been he's been cut up pretty bad. He takes a bit of punishment. And I think he's only looked great against not such great competition, in my opinion. But
agreed. And while you're here, I want to get your take on Frampton, Warrington, and the pay-per-view buy rate. Because I'm having a hard sense of how to gauge the exposure of that fight. What that fight can do. It being in Manchester, does that help or hurt it? I'm curious on your take on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I've been undecided whether that's even a pay-per-view or should be a pay-per-view. But, obviously off the back of Warrington, at the football stadium in Leeds, the great atmosphere, and obviously Frampton's got a hell of a support, like the Belfast crowd, plus, obviously people across the UK anyway. I think it'd be a big fight, and but pay-per-view rate, it's going to be different because this will be, I can't think when this is being aimed at.
October or November, I forget when exactly.
Right, so is this, apart from Canelo Triple G, this will be BT's first, I guess, domestic pay-per-view, I think. So I guess it's going to be just a barometer, but I'm really not sure on numbers. But and in Manchester, I find that a little strange. Obviously, Warrington's the champion, and he's done the stadium. I guess outdoors in October is going to be maybe a non-runner. So I don't know what else is in Leeds as far as a big venue to hold that fight. So I guess Manchester kind of makes sense, even though Leeds, which is Yorkshire, and Manchester, slight rivalry there. But yeah, I don't know if that helps. Obviously, if it's in the Manchester Arena, that holds, I think, 21,000. That's how many were there for the... Yes, I was live there for KSI Logan Paul, and there was 21,000 in attendance. So I know... Yeah, and a little behind the scenes for people. Well, not behind the scenes, but chat with Matt. He did say he was going to apologise to me on air because he bought it.
Okay, fine. You want me to do this? Okay. Rob, I apologize for giving you shit. Okay. Because that KSI Logan Paul shit was massive.
Emotional. Why you emotional?
Yeah, I mean, just on that, I mean, very quick. I mean, when my lad was like, "Oh, can we go and watch it?" I was like, "Oh, really? Come on." The month after, it's like Joshua Povetkin. Should we not try and get tickets for that? Oh no, we'll only be able to afford the cheap seats. We'll be right up at the top of Wembley Stadium. We won't be. And I was like, oh, all right then. And then we looked and we're like, okay. And we actually got almost fucking ringside for a KSI fight. It was bizarre, but it was just the most, I don't know, crazy, unbelievable event. There were just what I thought was a kid walking past. Suddenly, a whole side of the venue would run down the steps, and they'd be grabbing this kid and taking photos. And I was like, who the fuck's that? And my kid was like, I don't even know the name, but that's so-and-so. He's a YouTuber. And I'd what's his name? And I'd look it up, and I'd go, oh, he's got 1.8 million followers. Oh, okay. Shit. And then some other kid had walked past, and the crowd would go nuts. Camera phones out, chanting their names. I was like, who's that? Oh, he's got 4 million followers. I was like, oh, Jesus. It was a whole nother world. But for me, it was a boxing event that was being seen by a whole new audience. And
agreed.
Whether you think it was a farce and these guys have taken money where you know, all these old pros have fought all their life and been in the gym all their life and deserve all the money that they've, you know, worked so hard for. But these guys have worked, whether you think hard or not, but they've got 20 million followers each. So like almost 40 million. So they've worked and built their following, and they just happen to put on a boxing event, which I think 5 point something million people paid for, plus 21,000 people in attendance. Fair play to them, you know. And I heard one kid on the way out say to his mum, "Can we go and watch another boxing match sometime?" And another kid, I think I said it on Twitter. Some kid said, "Can I try boxing?" So, and then a guy on Twitter said, "Yeah, my kid's now got his mother's dressing gown on, and he's got some gloves on, and he's asking me when the gym's open." And this was like the Sunday morning. So, you know, boxing has touched, at least as far as I know, 3 kids that
wouldn't have.
That maybe wouldn't have necessarily even considered boxing, or I mean, they maybe not even know another boxer's name as we speak, a professional, but it's tweaked their interest. So, you know, hopefully it's more than just 3, but at least, you know, from this has come interest in boxing. So
even if it's just 3,
it was a complete crazy event. It was nuts. I kind of got caught up in it as like the walkouts were happening and the crazy like fucking ring attire, and I was like, God damn, this is, you know, crazy. And in some regards, actual professional boxing can take a little leaf out of this, because I've been to like WWE with my kid as well, but this was just on another level. Like there's just the sheer, like, almost, it was as if it was like a Beatles concert. These kids were going fucking nuts for these YouTubers, and every single one that came out, and and it was funny because it was almost like you know, like in Japanese fighting, they're almost quiet for a little period, but then like a punch will land and it's like, oh, it was like 21,000 in unison, like. But then by the time it got to the main event, the whole place was just building, and it was electric. And, you know, fair play to them. If they've made a shitload of money, they've made a shitload of money. But but I know you guys are going to get the whole thing going on your side of the pond, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. You know, I really don't have much to add to that, because you've basically said everything I would say about the event. I will add to it, if it's only 3 kids, let's say the only kids that ever walked away from that event and wanted to, you know, watch more boxing, wanted to take up boxing, were the 3 kids you saw, it's a positive for the sport. It is. It just is. But let's be honest, it's hundreds, if not thousands of kids, if not maybe millions of kids have watched that, have cared about it, and now they're more interested in the actual sport of it. That is good, especially in a sport that has needed to pull that younger generation up. And we never have. Like, the actual sport itself has seemingly never pulled that younger generation to prominence. It just hasn't. It's always sort of pushed down on whether it's millennials or Gen Z. It's always seemed that way. And I think this is a bridge that, for us younger kids and people, like, we will look at and say, okay, this is how we grab those casual young kids that barely know about sports, barely know about boxing, and get them to become hardcores. It's this. It's a win.
Yeah.
Like main event Mark says, it's a win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to shit over my own point, but there's every chance those 3 kids were then said, well, come on in, let's go. Oh, no, I'm watching YouTube. And then, no, I'm watching the videos now.
Oh, definitely.
All right. So, you know, maybe they didn't actually get up and go to the gym, but just to spark that interest or put a seed in their mind, I think, you know, that's definitely a plus to it. I saw a whole heap of boxers posting. There was a little clip. It was one of the first fights on the card, and there was about 3 Fortnite dances in a row within the space of, like, I don't know, 20 seconds, and all the boxers were like, what the fuck is this? This is not, to anyone out there, this is not what boxing's about. And there's a ton of fighters hating on it, but, you know, it was the real undercard, but the kids went nuts for it, you know. So there was one guy, he slipped a jab and then he done the floss, you know. So, you know, Billy Joe Saunders slips a right hook from Lemieux and he does the looking out into the crowd, you know. So
Yep.
I know.
Definitely.
I know it's a slightly different thing. It's because no one knew the kids in the ring apart from the kids in the audience. But it was what it was. But shout out to it. Fair play to them. But yeah, it's like you say, Matt. Kind of quiet week. Sort of. I think we're all waiting for the Fury Wilder announcement. I guess we talked about it on TBV last night, but whether it will make sense for them to tie it in with the Porter Garcia stuff, fight week for that, whether that would make sense, just to sort of boost both things, really. Most exposure, all the media there and stuff. So
I wouldn't be
maybe
surprised.
we'll hear something.
I would not be surprised. And isn't there a Sky Sports? No, sorry, mixing up UK channels. My bad. My bad. Anyways.
No. Yeah. So, yeah, there is a Sky Sports card on there, but obviously
it's not BT.
They won't be pushing any of that. So, but yeah, Amir Khan undercard, which I don't know if it'll be shown. I think it may be, but Lewis Ritson's getting a little tune up before his headlining an October card for the European title. So people who haven't seen Lewis Ritson, definitely check him out. He's definitely going to be one to watch, in my opinion. I forget who else is on the Amir Khan card, but yeah, that's obviously this side of the pond next weekend. But I'm sure you'll talk about that closer to the time.
Thank you, Rob.
No problem. Catch you later.
Have a good day, man.
And you, man.
The people are already saying that you have to call in more, and I agree, you do. Before we head into Santiago, I want to address something that, like, Rob sort of touched on slightly. Rob, mute yourself. God, Jesus, come on. Anyways, as he's still unmuted, let me eject him. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. Bye, Rob. You can catch on YouTube. But digressing, Rob touched on something early in his call about, the whole Frank Warren going at Dan Rayfield, going at others, and that's all network politics. And it's, obviously attach this to the whole Sky Sports propaganda. When networks are monetarily attached to certain promoters, they obviously are going to slant a certain way. ESPN slants a certain way. Sky Sports slant a certain way. CBS slants a certain way. If you just look at it, you can see it. If you look at enough headlines, if you look at enough articles, you see it, the slant. And it's kind of, I think, blatantly obvious, to be quite fair. Maybe people don't really see it. But to touch on, like, Dan and Frank, there's a reason Dan Rayfield has, I think, been a little bit critical of Frank Warren, Tyson Fury, etc. And that's because they are seemingly exclusively streaming their content, their fight cards, to Showtime. And again, this is all politics, like I started this entire thing with. So you have ESPN and that conglomerate. You have DAZN, Eddie, Sky Sports, that conglomerate. You have Showtime, and seemingly now BT Sports conglomerate. And they will all fight each other, battle each other, shit on each other, because that's business. This is capitalism. So, if you're in your head with the whiteboard trying to piece it all together, it's those pieces. It's those pieces that are fighting each other and battling each other and having PR battles, narrative battles, trying to win over the public narrative. That's what it is. So when you see Dan talk shit about Frank Warren and BT Sports, I should say Frank Warren events, it's because those events are not on ESPN. Those events are on Showtime. He has an easier, sort of way to go about shitting on them because he doesn't have that network obligation, so to speak. Again, I feel like this is obvious, but just to piece it together for people that may not piece it together. Santiago, we're going to go to you. How you doing, man? Doing good? Santiago.
Doing good, dude. No, I'm just happy. Like, first off, shout out to Rob actually calling in. It's nice to hear him call in. Hopefully he calls in more often.
Agreed.
And just to quickly touch on what he talked about with, like, the whole transgression that happened with the kids and the whole KSI versus Logan Paul. I can relate to, like, how some of these kids feel like like they discovered something from seeing this whole event take place. Because like, I don't know if I ever told you, and I probably told some of the other guys, but like, the way I got into boxing was actually through a Japanese cartoon called anime. You know, that instilled my my love for the sport, and then it opened me up to all these different characters that I would eventually discover. You know, Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, Ricky Hatton, so on and so forth. You know, and it's nice to see that you know, if this does affect kids' lives and leads them towards something that improves them, you know, as individuals, then it could only ever be a good thing for the sport of boxing. Something that, you know, you've already touched on, that boxing by itself has never been able to really accomplish, with a lot of the older guard being more in line with like the traditional hard-working sense of how you get into the sports.
Agreed. I agree on all points there, Santiago. I have nothing really to add to it.
Yeah, and then, you know, not really hear that on this.
Well,
Gabe Rosado won for 2014. Fought,
Santiago, you're breaking up really bad. Hang up and call back in. I will get to you. I do promise. Sorry about that, Santiago, but you had a bad connection there. Again, hang up, call back in. It's no big deal. I want to add to this, because I actually forgot to address this. Mike Coppinger over at the ring.com or ringtv.com interviewed Steven Espinoza, talked about obviously the new Showtime PBC deal, and it came out that there are 30, it seems, or it's not, that's a quote, he is saying it, Mike Coppinger, so I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but he said there's going to be 30 PBC/Showtime events. And just to put that in, again, juxtaposition with the entire 2019 schedule, I just want to map it out for everyone. Again, Matt Hunter, MCR, Twitter, Instagram. Just saying, you know, follow me. But we're going to have 30 PBC Showtime events, and that does not include whatever Fox deal that's on the table and those events. 54 top-rank ESPN events. 15 World Boxing Super Series /DAZN events. 32 Matchroom /DAZN events. 42 UFC ESPN events, and 22 Bellator DAZN events. And that does not include pay-per-view events, One Championship, PFL, Golden Boy, K2, main events, Ryzen, etc. 2019 about to be lit. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone, because I know we talked about, obviously, the PBC deal in the last show, and there was no details really with the number of events, money, etc. So I wanted to at least present this number to you, add in that detail that's the only detail we have yet of this deal with Showtime and PBC. And if you look at the entire schedule right now for boxing and MMA, it is loaded for 2019. ESPN and DAZN are taking over. Showtime seems to be a real competition, third wheel, so to speak, but still a competition. But man, HBO was lost in this mix. You have over, 200 events here, and HBO has 0 of them. Damn. But Santiago has called back answer and go to Santiago. I do apologize about that. Santi, and for the listeners, Santi, are you there? Hope it's a better connection.
Yeah, can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay, then. Yeah, so just picking up where I probably left off, from 2013 to 2014, Gabe faced who's the fighters: Gennady Golovkin, J. Leon Love, Peter Quillen, Jermell Ironman Charlo, all fights that he subsequently lost, and they were tough fights. And leading into the Glenn Tapia fight, I thought he was the more shot-worn fighter. He came away with the win, but
agreed.
I don't like that fight. I can usually see him getting stopped, cuts, TKO round 3, and it just won't look good. I know people like him, but I really wish he would consider hanging it up here soon. Same thing with Brandon Rios. I don't like that he might fight Josh Taylor. Like, he's never been a guy that really filled out at 147 the way Danny Garcia did.
Josh Kelly.
And he seems to still struggle. Josh Kelly, and he still looks like if he were to try to make 140, he would still struggle to make that weight, especially on 3 weeks' notice. He's gonna look like he did at 135.
Josh Kelly's 147. Josh Kelly's 147.
Oh, it's 147.
Yes, Josh Taylor is at 140. Hold on. Josh Taylor's at 140, and he's a Hennessy Sports fighter. Josh Kelly is 147, and he's a Sky Sports fighter. Hope that helps.
Yeah. So many Joshes, man.
Yeah, fuck the Joshes.
But yeah, I really, none of these fights really appeal to me, and really they just make me think that these guys really need to consider hanging it up before, they go through what, Ryuya Yamanaka just went through with the brain bleed, because, dude, he's your age, and he's already having to call it quits because of that. That's just sad.
It's crazy.
And these guys they've been at it much longer than this guy. Look at their ages alone. So it is what it is, and I don't really have much more to add to that. Just happy to call in, hear Rob on the line, and if you have any potential questions regarding any of your topics, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, that's my call.
Thank you, Santi. Rob corrected me, saying no Matt. I'm adding the energy, no Matt. Taylor's with Cyclone Promotions. And Cyclone Promotions, that's the McGuigans, right? Yep. And they just lost Carl Frampton in a lawsuit. Right, Rob? Correct me on that. But anyways, we're going to move on to MMA topics of the day, and it's only 2. We only have 2 MMA topics of the day, and it's actually kind of sad. But anyways, digressing. Paulo Costa. This headline is not what I'm going to address. He talks about contract renegotiation, all that stuff, gambling on himself to make more money. I'm not going to address that. What he does say in this interview as well, you should go check it out, MMAfighting.com with Guillermo Cruz. Probably, if not the best Brazilian MMA journalist of all time. He's number 2. But definitely go check out this interview. It's a long sit-down scrum with him. But he talks about how he will be fighting, or at least he's been offered to fight, Yoel Romero for January 18th, which will be the inaugural UFC on ESPN card. He did not allude to whether it is a 3-round or 5-round fight. Said he is okay with either. I think I'm not gonna say it's smart necessarily. Put Yoel Romero and Paulo Costa, 2 really non-English speakers, as your first ever headline for your ESPN venture. So I don't know if that's a smart idea. I think it's probably going to be a co-main or a fight below that. Already on this card, or at least in the works for this card, is Paige Van Zandt versus Rachel Ostovich. So this card is already shaping up to have a lot of, I say stars, because at least Paige Van Zandt, she's a star. She's a draw. But Paulo Costa, in my opinion, is what the UFC believes is their next Brazilian guy. He has a look, talks the talk, obviously an exciting fighter to watch with insane power, undefeated. He seems to be the guy that the UFC is now sort of putting their chips in for the next Brazilian guy after the Aldos, the Anderson Silvas, etc. But on top of that, it's interesting that he's already, I think, playing hardball with the UFC. On top of, obviously the headline of the article was about contract negotiation and him winning that shit. That's interesting to me. A guy that's 12-0, only 4 fights in the UFC, and he already seems to be, first off, savvy when it comes to business, negotiations, the fight game overall, and just overall just a savvy fighter in the cage. This guy seems to have a vastly high ceiling where it may be him. He may be the next guy at middleweight. He may even move up to light heavyweight. I don't know, but he seems to have everything a promoter would want in a next star, especially with the market like Brazil behind him potentially. That's something that you need to look at if you're a fan of MMA, and what this trajectory is for Paulo Costa, because it seems to be McGregor-like, but for Brazil, and I think we need to start looking at it that way. Moving on, though, Mike Perry responding to Donald Cerrone via Twitter, saying, where is it? Here we go. He talked about Logan Paul first. I'm not going to address that because that's stupid. But Platinum Mike Perry saying, plus, I don't know why at Cowboy Cerrone is acting like we ain't in this shit about the money. He's oblivious because he's always had money. I'm a broke, hungry fucking lion, and I'm glad you didn't die in the scuba dive so I can kill you in the octagon. I'm going to give you that Spartan hashtag beautiful death. It is what it is. But yes, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Or email me, like I've said, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. To get the international call-in link. But it looks like we're going to be on our way out of here. Again, like I said, kind of a light day, but we still went 50 minutes. That's mainly due to Rob. Rob was talking forever. But it's okay. We love you, Rob. Again, call back in anytime. You know, this is always open for you. And again, I don't know if I've announced this. I don't know if I should announce it. Something in the works. That's all I'm going to say. Something in the works. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. But anyways, I am Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Hipsters here. Haters beware. It's another daily edition of the show. We will not be live tomorrow for a live fight chat. I might do an immediate reaction. I do not know. I have debated it over and over again. It is what it is. It's Ryan Garcia. So I probably should do a show, but again, it's Ryan Garcia. Anyways, be back. Obviously, Sunday, Patreon only show, championship rounds, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Help support the show. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, leave a review if you're listening on podcast form on iTunes. That always helps. What else? That's about it. Hope everyone has a great day. Peace.